we are expecting this NPC to happen, and now we have the latest that perhaps these national security laws on Hong Kong could be introduced. Are any of your members right now worried about a potential escalation of tensions that could lead to Washington withdrawing that special trading status for Hong Kong?
So I think all of our members are worried about the overall timber of the U.S.-China relationship. And Hong Kong certainly is an important part of that. So while we haven't seen the specific legislation that the NPC will debate, yes, there is concern that there is slippage away from the one country, two systems, and that China is gradually encroaching on Hong Kong's traditional rights and freedoms. And that might lead to a reevaluation of the relationship between the United States and Hong Kong in the future. Not a wholesale change, but perhaps a phased or a partial change in the relationship between the U.S. and Hong Kong.
Especially at a time when we continue to see rising bipartisan pushback against Beijing. We're now talking about delisting these Chinese companies. We had the Senate overwhelmingly pass that. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi today saying that they may even consider it in the House. So what happens to these companies that are doing business with China if we continue to see the tensions escalate from all the different sides of Washington?
So there is a great deal of tension, and companies are not able to operate as normal. I would agree that the Senate having passed the bill, it is likely that the House will also, and that will force Chinese companies to have a degree of transparency that they have not heretofore had. Or withdraw from the American market. But hey, American companies and European companies have to adhere to Chinese laws when in China, so it is not unreasonable to ask that Chinese companies adhere to American laws in America, particularly if they wish to have access to American financial markets.
Exactly. To your point, businesses have for a very long time really complained about their frustrations over the lack of a level playing field when it comes to Beijing. So if we were to see this, if it means short-term pain, is it worth paying for it now when long-term it could actually be more beneficial for all of these businesses working with China?
Well, I think it's not an either-or question. There has been a lot of incremental change in Chinese economic management over the last 10 years or 20 years, from exchange rates to opening up the capital market, and foreign companies' roles in China are larger and larger every year. The level playing field is something, however, that we have not yet achieved. And so we encourage the Chinese government to at least meet their WTO commitments to implement the Phase 1 part of the U.S.-China trade deal faithfully and to decrease the current account surplus that they've enjoyed for decade after decade. So I think it is fair to ask the Chinese to meet their WTO obligations and other obligations to the global community.
Ambassador, we continue to hear word about China stabilizing, reopening its economy. What are your members telling you about the ease of reopening inside China?